In this section, we are going to go through questions from Module 1. Module 1 was all about understanding the shared responsibility model, reviewing IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS models, and describing which cloud services is best for you or your customer.
Which of the following describes a benefit of cloud services? So the key word over here is benefit of cloud services. Is it economics of scale? Is it fixed workload or unpredictable cost? So I'm going to eliminate the answers which are wrong, because fixed workload is completely wrong, because cloud provide you the most flexible workload choice. So fixed workload is definitely a wrong answer. Unpredictable cost, definitely not. You can predict cost. There are ways you can calculate. We will learn about that in the future modules. So definitely that is a wrong answer. The right answer is economics of scale, because economics of scale is the ability to do things more cheaply and more efficiently when operating at a larger scale in comparison to operating at a smaller scale. Let's go through the second question. Which of the following refers to spending money upfront and then deducting that expense over time? So we're going to find out the type of IT funding model which refers to spending money upfront. Is it operational expenditure? Definitely not. Operational expenditure is where you only pay for what you use. It's called OPEX model. So that is, you're not going to pay upfront. Is it supply and demand? Definitely not. That's a different concept altogether. So the right answer is capital expenditure. Capital expenditure refers to spending of money on physical infrastructure upfront and then deducting that expense from your tax bill over time. The third question is, which of the following terms refer to making a service available with no downtime for an extended period of time? So the key word over here is no downtime. So what is that term? Is it agility? Definitely not. Agility is a term which is being referred to provision or make some service as soon as possible. It's definitely not fault tolerance, because fault tolerance is a service capability you built into your service, which is resilient for failure. So the right answer is high availability, because high availability keeps services up and running for long periods of time with little downtime, depending on the service in question. Which term from the list below would be viewed as the benefits of using cloud services? The key word over here is benefits of using cloud services. And what is that term? Is it unpredictable cost? Definitely not, because you can predict cost of the cloud services. I'm going to definitely take you through that module, which is the last module, where we're going to learn about the tools like TCO calculator, Azure pricing calculator, etc., to predict the cost of each services. Local reach only? Definitely not, because cloud is global. So you can provision the service anywhere in the world or closer to a user. Is it elasticity? Absolutely right. So elasticity is that term you are looking at this particular question, which is a benefit of using cloud services. So some of the other common benefits include agility, economics of scale, etc., along with elasticity. From the choice below, which is one of the advantages of moving your infrastructure to Azure? So the key word over here is advantages of moving your infrastructure to the cloud, and we have to find one answer from the below option. So let's go through the answer. The move reduces capital expenditure. The first option is right, because public cloud deployments reduce capital expenditure because there is far less infrastructure to buy. You efficiently rent only what you use as you use it. So the CapEx is the right answer. What about the next option? The move reduces operational expenditure or operational expenses? Definitely not. Third option is the move allows for complete control of infrastructure resources, which is wrong as well. So the right answer is the move reduces CapEx. Which cloud model provides the greatest degree of ownership and control? So we're going to find out which one provides the greatest degree of ownership and control. Is it hybrid? No, because hybrid, you work with a private cloud and a public cloud. So you don't have a greatest degree of control in the public cloud space, which is wrong. Is it public cloud? Definitely not, because you are at the end of the day relying upon the services provided by your cloud provider. So the right answer is private cloud. The private cloud provides the greatest degree of ownership and control. Which cloud model provides the greatest degree of flexibility? So here we are going to find out the flexibility options. Is it public? Definitely not, because when you use public cloud, again, you're relying on the services available with public cloud. Sometimes you would have to keep the data which is compliant. So you won't be able to keep that in the public cloud. Is it private cloud? Again, private cloud will not give you great amount of flexibility, because sometimes if you would like to reduce the cost of your hardware, you would like to use public cloud, for instance. So the right answer over here is hybrid cloud. The hybrid cloud model provides the greatest degree of flexibility, as you have the option to choose either public or private depending on your requirement. Which of the following describes a public cloud? So we basically have to read the statement and decide if that statement resonates something about public cloud. So let's read the first one. Is owned and operated by the organization that uses the resources from the cloud? Definitely not, because it is not owned and operated by the organization that uses the resources from the cloud. That term refers to private cloud. So public cloud lets organizations run application in the cloud or on premises. Absolutely wrong, because public cloud will not allow organizations to run application on-prem. It only allows them to run on the cloud. The last statement is public cloud provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users who connect through the secure network connection. Absolutely right. Public cloud provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users who connect through a secure network connection. You have legacy applications that require specialized mainframe hardware, and you have newer shared applications. Which cloud deployment model would be best for you? So the key words over here is you require specialized mainframe hardware. That's a keyword. And you have a newer shared applications as well. So do you think it's going to be a public cloud? Definitely not, because it's very difficult for you to run your specialized mainframe hardware in the public cloud area. Is it private cloud? Could be, but in this case, you need to run certain new shared applications as well. So again, it's not public cloud. So the right answer is hybrid cloud, because hybrid cloud is a public and private cloud combined. You can run the newer applications on commodity hardware you rent from the public cloud and maintain your specialized mainframe hardware on premises as well. Which of the following requires the most user management of the cloud services? The keyword is most user management. Is it IaaS? Absolutely right, because IaaS give you more control and flexibility, but it comes at a price. You still have to maintain your operating system, update the patches, etc. Is it platform as a service? No. In the platform as a service, you only manage your data and application. Is it software as a service? Absolutely, again, no. So the correct answer is infrastructure as a service, because that requires the most user management of cloud services. Microsoft Office 365 is an example of, we are trying to find out what type of cloud model is Microsoft Office 365. Is it infrastructure as a service? No. Exchange on-prem is an infrastructure as a service. Is it platform as a service? Again, no. Platform as a service is where you get an application to develop, deploy, test, and validate. So the right answer is software as a service, because SaaS is typically licensed through a monthly or annual subscription, which is how Office 365 is being built. Question number 12. Which of the following describes platform as a service? Again, we need to read through the statement to see which one appropriately matches PaaS. So the first statement is users are responsible for purchasing, installing, configuring, and managing their own software, which is operating system, middleware, and application. Definitely, it's not the right answer because in PaaS, you don't have to take care of your operating system, your middleware. You only take care of your application and your data. The second statement is users create and deploy applications quickly without having to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure. Absolutely right. So this is the correct statement for platform as a service. And the last option is users pay an annual or monthly subscription. That's an example of a software as a service. So the right answer is the second option, which is PaaS lets users create and deploy applications quickly without having to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure. Which of the following requires the most user management of the cloud services? So we are trying to find out the most user management of the cloud services. So is it infrastructure as a service? Absolutely correct, because infrastructure as a service is where a user have to manage the operating system, the application layer, the data layer, the middleware, etc. Is it platform as a service? Absolutely not. In the platform, you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure completely. Is it software as a service? Software as a service is where you will get a service in an annual or a monthly bill subscription model where you don't have to manage anything. So the correct answer is the first option. Infrastructure as a service requires the most user management of cloud services. Let's look at question number 14. You are developing an application and want to focus on building, testing, and deploying. You don't want to worry about managing the underlying hardware or software. Which cloud type is best for you? So the key word over here is you want to focus on building, testing, and deploying. So that means that you don't have to worry about the underlying hardware. So is it infrastructure as a service? Definitely not, because in infrastructure as a service, you will worry about managing the underlying hardware and software. Is it software as a service? Definitely not, because software as a service will not give you ability to focus on building, testing, and deploying your application. So the correct answer is third, which is platform as a service, because platform as a service is the best choice here because PaaS services handle the IT management tasks for you. You are running a virtual machine in a public cloud using IaaS. Which model correctly reflects how the resources is being managed? So the key word over here is you're running a VM in public cloud. So running a VM in public cloud is IaaS model, and which model correctly reflect how the resources is being managed. And we learned about in the module 1 about shared responsibility model. If you run an IaaS instance in a VM, there are a lot of shared responsibility which you share with the cloud service provider. So the first answer is right. Second option is cloud user management model. I don't even know what's that about. We never learned about that. And user management model. So that is definitely a private cloud option. So the correct answer is the first option, which is the shared responsibility model. Under the shared responsibility model, management of resource is shared between the cloud provider and the end user. The cloud provider is responsible for the cloud resources, and the end user is being responsible for the service being configured and managed correctly.
In this section, we are going to look into Module 2 review questions. We're going to explore the physical structures of Azure infrastructure questions. How about understanding the SLA agreements provided by Azure? And we will go through questions regarding service level agreements for your application as well.
Which of the following ensures data residency and compliance need are met for customers who need to keep their data and applications close. The key word over here is data residency and compliance. So what are the options? We have geographies, regions, and zones. I definitely know it's not regions and it's not zones. The right answer is geographies, because geographies allow customers with specific data residency and compliance need to keep their data and applications close. Geographies ensure that data residency, sovereignty, compliance, and resilience requirements are honored within the geographical boundaries. As part of the best practice, all resources that are part of an application and share the same life cycle should exist in the same what? Do you think it should exist in the same availability set? I don't think so, because availability set will give you high availability for your services. Do you think these resources should exist in the same region? Definitely not, because region is what you select if you want to deploy a resource closer to a user or closest to where the users are going to access from. So the correct answer is resource group, because for ease of management, resources that are part of application and share its life cycle should be placed in the same resource group. Which Azure compute resource can you use to deploy to manage a set of identical virtual machines? We have learned about this topic when we are talking about Azure Compute series. So we learned about virtual machine scale set, container, and Azure functions. So is it virtual machine availability set? Definitely not. Availability set is something which will give you high availability from fault tolerance and update domain. Is it availability zone? Absolutely not. Again, availability zone will give you high availability from data center disaster point of view. So the correct answer is virtual machine scale set. Virtual machine scale set lets you deploy and manage a set of identical virtual machines. Which of the following should you use when you are concerned only about code running your service and not the underlying platform or infrastructure? Again, this is something we learned about the types of Azure compute services. So is it Azure App Service? Definitely not. Azure App Service is a platform as a service. You still need compute in the backend to run these services. Is it an Azure Container Instance? No, Azure Container Instance is for containers or containerized applications. So the correct answer is Azure Functions. Azure Functions are ideal when you are concerned only about code running your service and not the underlying platform or infrastructure. Simple question, Azure Resource Manager template use which format? So we have used a couple of templates now to deploy VMs using ARM template. What sort of a format it uses? Is it HTML? Definitely not. Is it XML? No. The correct answer is JSON. Resource Manager template are JSON files that define the resources you need to deploy for your solution. You can use templates to easily recreate multiple versions of your infrastructure, such as staging and production. Which of the following services is a distributed network of servers that can effectively deliver web content to users? So which of the following service is a distributed network of servers that can effectively deliver web content to users? Is it Azure App Service? Definitely not. Azure App Service is a platform as a service which you can use to create web applications or mobile applications or APIs, etc. Is it Cosmos DB? Definitely not. Cosmos DB is a globally distributed, highly available database service. So the correct answer is Azure Content Delivery Network or CDN. A content delivery network is a distributed network of servers that can effectively deliver web content to users. Which of the following is optimized for storing massive amounts of unstructured data, such as videos and images? So the options are blobs, files, and queues. The key word over here is storing massive amount of unstructured data. So blobs is where you keep unstructured data, and blobs can support massive amount of storage as well. So it's definitely not files. Files is where you create an SMB protocol file share. Queues is where you create applications which need messaging services. So the correct answer is blobs. Azure Blob Storage is Microsoft object storage solution for the cloud. Blob storage is optimized for storing massive amounts of unstructured data such as text or binary data. Which of the following is part of an Azure Artificial Intelligence service? So we learned about different types of Azure AI services. Which one in the below is going to be the part of that AI service? Is it HDinsight? No, that is part of Azure Database Services. Is it Azure Machine Learning Service? Absolutely yes. Is it Azure DevTest Labs? No, that is part of Azure DevOps Services. So the correct answer is option 2, which is Azure Machine Learning Service. Machine Learning Service provide a cloud-based environment that you can use to develop, train, test, deploy, manage, and track machine learning models. Which of the following cloud services provide development collaboration tools, including high-performance pipelines, free private Git repositories, and configurable Kanban boards? So we are looking at a development collaboration tool which support the high-performance pipeline and free private Git repositories. It's definitely not HDinsights. It's not even Grid as well. That's a Git service. The correct answer is Azure DevOps Services. Because Azure DevOps Service include development collaboration tools, including high-performance pipeline, free private Git repositories, and configurable Kanban boards. Microsoft Azure data centers are organized and made available by. Is it geographies? No. Is it zones? No. The correct answer is regions. Microsoft Azure data centers are organized and made available by regions. Which of the following is used to ensure availability during maintenance events? Is it scale set? No, scale set is used to scale up and scale down the number of instances of virtual machine. Is it availability zone? No, because availability zone will give you high availability during a failure in terms of a data center. So the correct answer is availability set, because availability set provides a VM redundancy and availability. This configuration within a data center ensures that during either a planned or unplanned maintenance event, at least one virtual machine is available and meets the 99.95 Azure SLA. Which statement below is going to be true about Azure Load Balancer? We basically have to read out the entire statement to see if that is going to be relevant for Azure Load Balancer. You must use Azure Load Balancer if you want to distribute traffic among your virtual machines running in Azure. No, you don't. It's not a must to use Load Balancer if you want to distribute your traffic among virtual machines running in Azure. Another option is Azure Load Balancer work with internet-facing traffic only. Definitely not. You can use Azure Load Balancer for internal and external traffic share. Internal or external traffic load balancing. Another option is Azure Load Azure Load Balancer distributes traffic among similar systems, making your service more highly available. Absolutely correct. If one system is unavailable, Azure Load Balancer stops sending traffic to it and then directs traffic to one of the responsive servers. You are managing one of your Azure services remotely from your Android phone. Which management tools would best allow you to do manage remotely from your Android phone with the least amount of administrative effort? Is it PowerShell? Definitely not. Is it Azure Portal? Yep, technically you can use Azure Portal in your browser on your phone, but that is not the right answer. Is it Azure CLI? Absolutely right. Even though you can use the Azure Portal in your browser, it is not a better option than using a mobile app which uses Azure CLI or Azure Cloud Shell.
In this section, we are going to go through review questions from third module, which was all around exploring and examine Microsoft Azure security, privacy, compliance, and trust. The questions what we are going to look into are from networking, Azure identity, security tools, and Azure governance, compliance, and monitoring.
So the first question is, which of the following could grant or deny access based on the originating IP address? Is it Azure Active Directory? Definitely not. Azure Active Directory is your identity and access management solution in the cloud. Is it VPN gateway? Definitely not, because VPN gateways are used to create VPN tunnels or as a gateway solution. So the right answer is Azure Firewall. The Azure Firewall grants server access based on the originating IP address for each request. You create firewall rules that specify ranges of IP address. Only clients from the granted IP address will be allowed to access the server. The firewall rules also include specific network protocol and port information. Which of the following could require both a password and a security question for full authentication? So the key word here is not only password, you need to go through a security question as well. So what's that solution about? Is it firewall? No, we just discussed about firewall capability. Is it application gateway? Application gateway is also a type of firewall which provides web application firewall capability. So the right answer is multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication or MFA can require two or more elements for full authentication. So which of the following services would you use to filter internet traffic in your Azure network? So the key word over here is you would need to filter internet traffic. So we discussed that in the first lesson of this module when we talked about network security group. Is it Azure Firewall? Definitely not. We discussed Azure Firewall capability in the first question. Is it VPN gateway? Definitely not, because gateway provide VPN tunneling capability. It doesn't provide you filtering capability. So the right answer is network security group. NSGs allow you to filter traffic to and from Azure resources in an Azure virtual network. An NSG can contain multiple inbound and outbound security rules that enable you to filter traffic to and from resources by source and destination IP address, ports, and protocol. Which of the following lets you store passwords in Azure so you can centrally manage them for your services and applications? So the key words over here is you need to store passwords and secrets, and you would have to centrally manage them as well. Is it Azure Advanced Threat Protection? No, Azure Advanced Threat Protection will give you behavioral intelligence of your existing resources on your Azure and on-prem. Is it Azure Security Center? Definitely not. Security Center again gives you recommendations, best practices on all of your resources on-prem and in Azure? So the right answer is Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is a centralized cloud service for storing your application secrets. Key Vault helps you control your application's secrets by keeping them in a single central location and by providing secure access, permission control, and access logging capabilities. Which of the following should you use to download published audit reports, and how Microsoft builds and operates its cloud services? So the key word here is you need to download the published audit reports. So where can you go and find this audit reports built by Microsoft related to its cloud services? Is it Azure Policy? Definitely not. Azure Policy is the policy you can create and apply in a subscription level or a resource group level, etc. Is it Service Health? No. Azure Service Health will give you details about the health of all Azure services. So the correct answer here is Service Trust Portal, or STP. The Service Trust Portal is the Microsoft public site for publishing audit reports and other compliance-related information relevant to Microsoft Cloud Services. STP users can download audit reports produced by external auditors and gain insight from Microsoft authored reports that provide details on how Microsoft builds and operates its cloud services. Which of the following provides information about planned maintenance and changes that cloud affect the availability of your resources? So the key information is about planned maintenance and changes that could affect the availability of resources or Azure services. Is it Azure Monitor? Definitely not. Azure Monitor can give you the real-time reporting or near real-time reporting about the Azure services and resources health. Azure Security Center will give you details about recommendations, best practices about the resources in Azure and on-premises. So the correct answer is the third option, which is Azure Service Health. Azure Service Health is a suite of experiences that provide personalized guidance and support when issues with Microsoft services affect you. It can notify you, help you understand the impact of the issues, and keep you up to date as the issue is resolved. Azure Service Health can also help you prepare for planned maintenance and changes that could affect the availability of the resources. Where can you obtain details about the personal data Microsoft processes, how Microsoft processes it, and for what purposes? Is it Azure Service Health? No, we just talked about Azure Service Health capability. Is it Compliance Manager? No, Compliance Manager is where you can go and find the audit report. So the right answer is Microsoft Privacy Statement. So Microsoft Privacy Statement explains what personal data Microsoft processes, how Microsoft processes it, and for what purposes. Which of the following can be used to help you enforce resource tagging so you can manage billing? So the key word here is enforcing resource tagging. So how can you enforce resource tagging? It is by using Azure Policy. So the right answer is Azure Policy, because Azure Policy can be used to enforce tagging values and rules on resources. So which of the following can be used to define a repeatable set of Azure resources that implement organizational requirements? Is it Azure Policy? Definitely not. We talked about Azure Policy just now. You can use Azure Policy to enforce certain values and parameters. Is it Azure Resource Group? Azure Resource Group is a logical container where you keep Azure resources. So the correct answer is Azure Blueprint. Azure Blueprints enable cloud architects to define a repeatable set of Azure resources that implement and adhere to your organization standards, patterns, and requirements. Azure Blueprints enables development teams to rapidly build and deploy new environments with the knowledge that they are building within their organizational compliance, with a set of built-in components that speed up the development and delivery. Which of the following lets you grant users only the rights they need to perform their job? So the key word here is grant rights, only the rights they need to perform their job. So is it Azure policy? No, Azure policy is a policy which you can use to enforce certain tasks. Compliance manager can give you audit reports and the score. So the correct answer is role-based access control, or RBAC. So RBAC lets you to grant users only the rights they need to perform their job. Which of these options help you most easily disable an account when an employee leaves your organization? So the key word over here is easily disable when an employee leaves your organization. So is it multi-factor authentication? No, multi-factor authentication is a dual-factor authentication to validate your credentials before granting you access to a particular service. Is it monitor single sign-on? Is it monitor sign-on attempts? No, monitor sign-on attempts can only monitor who signed into what application or what service. So the correct answer is using single sign-on. SSO, or single sign-on, centralizes user identity. So you can disable an inactive account in a single step. Wow, that's a long one. What is Azure Information Protection? So basically, we will have to read the statement and tell which one is the right one. So the first statement, let me go and read the last statement. AIP is a monitoring service that provides threat protection across all your services, both in Azure and on-premises. No, AIP is not a monitoring service that provides threat protection. That service is called Azure ATP. So what is the next statement? AIP is a cloud-based security solution that identifies, detects, and helps you investigate advanced threats, compromised identities, and malicious insider actions. Definitely not. AIP cannot do any of that. That can be done by Azure Identity Protection or Azure Privileged Identity and Azure Threat and Azure ATP as well. So the right answer is the first statement, which is AIP is a cloud-based solution that helps organizations classify, protect its document and emails by applying labels. These labels can be applied automatically, manually, or a combination of both. The automatic apply of label require you to have an Azure AD P2 license. Which of the following items would be good use for you to have a resource lock? So the key word here is resource lock. Is it a storage account used to temporarily store images processed by development environment? No, because it is being used temporarily, so I don't have to worry about locking that resource. Is it a non-production virtual machine used to test occasional application build? Again, it is not critical because it's a non-production virtual machine and it is being used occasionally. Definitely not. So the right answer is the first statement. An express route circuit with connectivity back to your on-premises, because it's a very critical network that is making your on-prem environment in talk with your Azure environment. So it's a super critical resource. So you would put a resource lock so that nobody modifies or delete accidentally. Let's look at the last question. Which of the following approaches would be the most efficient way to ensure a naming convention was followed across your subscription? So we are looking at an efficient way to ensure naming convention. We know what to do. The best way to do that is by applying Azure policy. So let's read out these statements. Send out an email with the details of the naming convention. Hope it been followed. That's very traditional way. It can work, but that's not an efficient way. Give all other users except for yourself read-only access to the subscription. have all request create resources sent you to, oh my God, that's such a complicated process. Definitely not. So the correct answer is second statement. Create a policy with your naming requirement and assign it to a scope of your subscription. Using Azure policy ensures that you cannot only recommend a naming standard, but report on its adoption as well.
Module 4 is the last part in this review question. Module 4 is all around Azure pricing, service level agreements, and lifecycle. Let's go and look into questions from this module.
Which of the following provides a set of tools for monitoring, allocating, optimizing your Azure cost? So the key word here is you're looking at for a set of tools which can do monitoring, allocating, and optimizing your Azure cost. Is it total cost of ownership? Definitely not. TCO will give you estimate on the cost if you migrate from on-premises data center to Azure. Is it Azure pricing calculator? Definitely not, because Azure pricing calculator will give you an estimate on your Azure services. So the correct answer is Azure Cost Management. Azure Cost Management is an Azure product that provides a set of tools for monitoring, allocating, and optimizing your Azure cost. Which of the following can be used to manage governance across multiple Azure subscriptions? So the key word over here is governance across your subscriptions. So is it Azure Initiatives? Definitely not. Is it Azure Resource Group? No. Azure Resource Group is where you keep your resources and it's a logical container. So the correct answer is Management Group. Management groups facilitate the hierarchical ordering of your Azure resources into collections at a level of scope above subscriptions. Which of the following defines performance targets like uptime for an Azure product or service? So the key word here is performance target like uptime for Azure products and services. Is it usage meter? No, usage meter will give you a different types of price indication for different services. Is it support plans? No. Support plans talks about different types of Azure support plans you can purchase from Microsoft. So the correct answer is service level agreements. Service level agreements or SLA defines performance target for an Azure product or service. Which of the following is a logical unit of Azure services that links to an Azure account? So your keyword over here is logical unit for Azure services that links to your Azure account. Is it resource group? No, because resource group is again a logical container where you can keep your Azure resources. Is it management group? Definitely not. Management group facilitate the hierarchical ordering of Azure resources. So the correct answer is Azure subscription. Azure subscription is a logical unit of Azure services that links to an Azure account. Which Azure support plan is best for business critical workload? So you're looking at a support plan which is best for business critical. So we have not discussed about it, but the best plan for business critical resources are Azure Professional Direct. So the right answer is Azure Professional Direct, because Azure Professional Direct is the best way to ensure your solutions are running nearly all the time. So Microsoft have removed the support module from the new AZ-900 exam course material. So I really doubt that you will get any questions on the support module. Question number 6. An Azure Reservations offers discounted price if you... So how do you get Azure Reservations? Is it by using spending limits? No, spending limits can be applied to get alerts or not to go over spending in your Azure subscription. Provision a certain number of resources? Definitely not. You can get Azure reservation discount by paying in advance. So Azure reservations offer discounted price if you pay in advance. To get a discount, you reserve product and resources by paying in advance. You can prepay for 1 or 3 years use for certain Azure resources, like a virtual machine compute, an SQL database instance, etc. Which of the following give all Azure customers a chance to test beta and other pre-release features? Is it general availability? No. General availability is when everyone get access to the services. Is it private preview? No. Private preview is only for selected group of users as early adopters. So the correct answer is public preview. Public preview means that Azure feature is available for all Azure customers for evaluation purposes. So you have two services with different SLAs. The composite SLA is determined by, so is it determined by adding the SLA percentage together? No. Is it by taking the lowest SLA percentage? Definitely not. So the correct answer is second option, which is multiply the SLAs together. So to determine a composite SLA, you multiply the individual SLAs together. Releasing a feature to all Azure customers is called, we just talked about it. Is it public preview? No, it's a preview feature for everyone to test it. It's not a full-blown version. Is it called general preview? There is nothing called general preview in Azure. So the correct answer is general availability. General availability, or GA, is a feature released to all Azure customers. Which of the following can be used to estimate cost saving when migrating to Azure? So how do you estimate cost saving when migrating to Azure? Is it by pricing calculator? No, because pricing calculator can give you estimate on the services what you're going to put in Azure. Is it usage meter? Definitely not. Usage meter can give you indication of the pricing values for each service. So the correct answer is TCO, or total cost of ownership calculator. So the TCO calculator is a tool that you can use to estimate cost savings you can realize by migrating to Azure. Your billing is based on your usage of Azure services and is invoiced. So the key word over here is, when do you think your Azure resources is being billed? Is it daily? Definitely not. Is it annually? No. Azure is being billed monthly. So you will be billed monthly. That's the right answer. Azure Advisor provide recommendations for what? Is it for cost only? Definitely not. Azure Advisor can give you recommendation much more than that. Is it for high availability, performance, and cost? No, it can do even more than that. So the correct answer is option 2. Azure Advisor provide recommendation on many different capabilities, including high availability, security, performance, operational expenses, and cost. To use Azure data centers that are made available with power, cooling, and networking capabilities, independent from other data centers in the region, choose a region that support what? So the key word over here is, you need all these capabilities independent from other data centers in the region. So is it geographic distribution? Definitely not. Is it service level agreement? Doesn't even relate to this topic. So the correct answer is availability zones. Availability zones are data centers set up to be an isolation boundary from others in the region. with their own power, cooling, and networking. If one zone in a region goes down, the other availability zone in the region continue to work. The last question is application availability refers to what? Does it refers to the service level agreement of the associated resource? No. Does it refers to application support for an availability zone? Absolutely not. So the correct answer is the third option, which is the overall time that a system is functional and working. The time that a system is working is referred to as an application availability. So congratulations. I wish you all the very best for your examination and all the very best for your continuous career success as well.